Hey, welcome back to the Empire State of Sports podcast. This is going to be episode 2. Today we're going to recap the NFL games from this past weekend. We're going to talk some NBA news as the deadline's approaching very soon, February 8th. There were some moves through the past few days. Definitely want to touch on those. We also have some NHL news, some new All-Stars, a couple suspensions, also some trade rumors to get through. My New York Rangers, Islanders, Devils all seem to be struggling. Metropolitan area hockey definitely has been lackluster as of late. Definitely going to touch on that. We have some MLB news. A lot of the free agents are still out there. To me, it's really surprising that someone like Bellinger's still out there. Some of the top free agents don't even have offers. Some of them have one offer. Going to touch on the new Yankees, their uniform change. Which, if you don't know, it's going to look something like this, but I'm going to tell you my opinions on that. All right. But I'm going to just go ahead and jump right into it. Yet again, welcome back to Empire State of Sports, episode 2. So first, we're going to talk about the Texans versus Ravens game. This game was absolutely incredible in the first half. I think it was the best game of the weekend just in that first half. But after that, really it was just a blowout. Ravens just came out of that half, made so many adjustments. Their defense was incredible. It just seemed as though the Texans defense too just couldn't keep up with Lamar. Yeah, I know I predicted CJ Stroud to carry the Texans in this win, but yeah, I was wrong. Way wrong. I really had confidence in CJ Stroud. He just looked like he couldn't get those big plays that he did in the wild card round. He only really went 19 for 33. He didn't get the touchdown. The special teams did. There was a punt return touchdown. Yeah, it just really was a rough game to watch for CJ Stroud. I do think this is a very tough learning experience for him, but this Texans team does have a lot of good pieces to build around. They have CJ Stroud, obviously. They have Nico Collins, who looks like he can be a great receiver. Tank Dell was out this game, but he was incredible all season. And those are definitely a lot of pieces to build around on top of a great coaching scheme. I definitely think the Texans are going to be great in the future. I can't wait to see what they do next year. Lamar was just incredible. He had 4 total touchdowns. He had the 2 rushing touchdowns. Obviously, I predicted he would have a rushing touchdown. Um, the 2 passing were to Isaiah Likely and Nelson Aguilar. He went 16 for 22 throwing, so he didn't really throw the ball much, which I'm gonna touch on that in my predictions for the championship. But it was weird to me he didn't throw that much because he did have a lot of success in the air, but obviously he also had a lot of success on the ground with the 2 rushing touchdowns. I just think this Ravens team has so many ways they can beat you, and honestly, it's going to be tough for any team to beat them. Yeah, especially after half two, this team was just different. It just seems like they're able to make the adjustments on the fly, which a lot of teams just aren't able to do. As they came out of the second half, and they didn't even allow the Texans to score a point in the second half. And as they won this game, I believe it was 33-10. Let me just check on that because I don't want to be wrong here. 34-10, close. But yeah, like I said, this Ravens team is just incredible. But that's not to knock the Texans. I think the Texans should be really proud coming out of this game, as I was talking about the pieces they have. Obviously, great game. Just the second half, the Texans couldn't keep up. Yeah. Next, we're going to talk about the Packers-Niners game. The Packers really shocked me. I really didn't think they were going to be in it at all this game because I just didn't think that defense was going to be able to get any sort of coverage on the Niners. But to me, If I'm a Niners fan, I'm worried about Brock Purdy. I just don't think he's that guy right now. He went 23 for 39, and he only had a touchdown in the air and only an 86 rating. It just looked like when he's flustered, he really just does not know what to do. And he just doesn't have the signs of a great quarterback, which is going to be very worrisome, and it's going to be something to look out for in the next round of the playoffs if they can make it to the Super Bowl. While Jordan Love didn't have a great game, I do think he's still that guy in Green Bay. I do think they have their next franchise quarterback, which they've had three franchise quarterbacks in a row. You talk about Aaron Rodgers, you talk about um damn it. I'm having a brain fart here. I know I'm doing things a lot less structured this episode because I feel like in the first episode I wasn't really natural. I wasn't really myself. And I feel like this is going to be a lot better. I feel like the audience is going to like it a lot more. It's going to be a lot more entertaining for you guys. Um yeah, they've had, but like I was saying, they've had three franchise quarterbacks in a row. They've had Aaron Rodgers, they've had Brett Favre, and now it seems like Jordan Love is going to be that guy too, which is just awesome for Green Bay. I really can't wait to see the growth he makes after this game. Although it was a rough game for him, he he did throw two interceptions. It just seemed to me once they had the lead, he got a little too comfortable in it and was making these risky throws that just you know that meme that's just like F it, someone's down there somewhere. It just seemed like that was him this game. He was just throwing it, not really knowing who he was throwing it to, straight into coverage, and that really led to their downfall. I saw something that said the Packers or the Niners didn't win this game. The Packers lost it because they really should have won. It was just they had that missed field goal late in the game that would have made it tied going to OT. Nobody knows what can happen. But honestly, this Packers team was just as good, if not better, than the Niners for most of that game. And like I was saying about Brock Purdy, like this Packers defense hasn't been great all year, and the fact that they were able to find a way to fluster Brock Purdy like that is definitely something to worry about with the Niners. He didn't really throw an interception, but he was checked down Purdy this game. He really couldn't get anything else besides that check down as a completion. Yeah, that's really all I have for this game. I think the Packers are going to be a team to watch out for. I think get them one receiver or two receivers, bulk up that defense a little bit, and I think they're a team you could watch out for. Sorry for that little pause there. I did just have to go and run and get my drink. It's a lot to just sit here and talk parts very easily. Um, but yeah, next I'm going to talk about the Lions versus the Bucks. My camera keeps unfocusing. I don't know why. Um, this game was really close for the first three quarters until the Lions just pulled away. The Lions just were the better team. Like I said, I really just couldn't see anything else happening besides the Lions winning this game. But I was shocked how close the Bucks made it in these first three quarters. I'm not gonna lie. Both teams had very similar games. Like honestly, for all four quarters, besides for um I think the Lions just played the whole game more aggressive, and yet again it pays off. I think Dan Campbell's just this guy where if he has even the slightest chance to get something, he just goes for it. And honestly, most of the time it works out. So kudos to him. Uh, Baker did look a little shaky. He did come back down to earth, which sucks because I really do like the way Baker was playing. I do hope the Bucks keep him because he meshes with their offensive scheme very well all season. Um, for the first half, obviously not as much. They were like 5-7 for a period, but they obviously made the playoffs. They won a game in the playoffs, and they made this game close. So there's obviously not much this team needs to do to get back to that championship contender level. But yeah, Baker looked really shaky. He had 2 interceptions, but on the bright side, he did have 3 touchdowns, which is just, I feel if they just give him the right weapons, he can be that guy. If they give him a little bit more time in the pocket, he really can be that quarterback. That Super Bowl contender quarterback that we saw when he won the Heisman in college. I feel like Baker just hasn't had the right weapons his whole career, and if you give him that, like I said, who knows what can happen. We like to me, he just is a competitor. He had a quote after the game where he said it felt like his heart got ripped out after they lost this game. He obviously wanted to win this game so bad, and for him not to win was devastating to him. We're gonna see what the Bucks do this offseason. Obviously, Mike Evans is a free agent, and he was a huge factor in this game. He had 150 yards and a touchdown. To me, I feel like they should run back mostly the same team. Find a way to bring Mike Evans back. Find a way to bring in another guy. Because Godwin wasn't really that 1B guy he's been in the past. This year, and I feel like if you get a guy that's a 1B, if you get another lineman, if you bulk up that defense just slightly, this team is just a few steps away from being that Super Bowl contender team. Jared Goff to me had a similar game to what he always has. He's a game manager. He's a guy where he's not going to be incredible. He's not going to have those flashy plays like Mahomes and Allen, who we're going to talk about next. But he went 30 for 43. He had 287 yards and 2 touchdowns. He, I feel like, never throws interceptions because he's so responsible with the ball, which somehow meshes so well with this aggressive play style of the Lions because he knows when enough's enough. Unlike Dan Campbell, it seems like, but somehow it meshes so well, and I don't really get it, but it did lead to a Lions victory. So we're gonna see them in an NFC Championship, and for the city of Detroit, they've suffered for so long. It's great to see. You see all these celebrities coming out like Eminem to the games. It's gonna be fun to see. They are gonna play their first game on the road this postseason against the Niners, but I feel like Lions fans just travel. They're gonna go. They're gonna show out for their team. But yeah, all this combined led to a 31-23 win. It was a very interesting game to watch. Can't wait to see what the Lions can do next week. Can't wait to see what the Bucks do next year. Definitely two great teams face off against each other in this one. Oh, I forgot to talk about Jameer Gibbs. He yet again has another big game. He had 74 yards and a touchdown. I feel like Jameer Gibbs, ever since like I'd say like 5 games into the season, has been that elite running back they promised out of the draft. Very great to see from Jameer Gibbs. Another way the Lions can score is on the ground. It just seems like the Lions are just so good in every single aspect. There's just one question I have with this Lions team, and it's going to be if this defense could hold up because they couldn't really hold up against the Bucks, who yeah, I did say they're a good team, they're a great team, they're just a few steps away, but they don't have nearly as many weapons as the 49ers do, and it's going to be really um interesting to see how this team can handle that many weapons against them. They did have 2 interceptions this game, but that's with a quarterback that does throw a little reckless, like a Josh Allen type, where he'll go for the big play and risk the interception. Well, Purdy just does not do that. So it's gonna be really interesting to see if this Lions defense can hold up. But yeah, now I'm done talking about that game. Great game. Um, Two great teams. Can't wait to see what they do next year. Can't wait to see what they do in the future. But now I'm going to talk about the Chiefs Bills. Allen really played so well this game to me. He just had no weapons. There were multiple times where I saw Stephon Diggs drop the ball and was just like How? Stephon Diggs is definitely past that time where he's even a top 10 receiver. I wouldn't even put him there anymore. It's really sad to see because now Allen really has no one to throw to besides maybe Kincaid and Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis was out this game. Really, really hard to see. But he really should have been like 32 for 39. But with all these drops, he did only go 26 or 39. And he had 186 yards, but he had 2 rushing touchdowns, which to me, Josh Allen is so good on his legs. Just get him someone to throw to. Get him someone, anyone. Go out there and steal Mike Evans from the Bucks. Just get anyone. This team just needs someone. Stephon Diggs is not the answer. Poor Josh Allen has no one to throw to. It's just tough to see as the Chiefs took this one 27-24 and they win the third they win their third matchup out of 3 times they played each other in the playoffs. And to me it's just crazy because how can a team dominate another team so much? It's just like it's like the Yankees and the I saw this comparison on Twitter. It's like the Yankees and the Astros. Like it's just a team that time after again and again they play each other in the playoffs, and every single time the Chiefs pull out on top. I hate it. Obviously, this game should have went to overtime, but it didn't again because wide right. I'm sorry, Bills fans, you had to go through that again. If you don't know, back when the Bills played the Giants in the Super Bowl back in the 90s, they should have won that game. But the kicker shanked it wide right, and it happened again. I'm really sorry, Bills fans, that I have to bring that up, but it's something that did happen, and to fans of other teams, it is pretty funny. But yeah, people really need to stop hating on Patrick Mahomes. Guy's just on another tier. Everyone just loves to talk shit about Patrick Mahomes because everyone talks about how good he is on the broadcast. But he is. He's just that good. The guy just shows up when the team needs him. He had a 120 rating this game. He went 17 for 23. He had 215 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. He showed up. He always finds a way to show up, man. I just don't get it. How good this guy is, especially when the lights shine bright on him. He has no weapons outside of Kelsey, let's be honest here. When Tyreek Hill left, everyone was like, who's he going to throw to? He went out and he won the Super Bowl that year. Patrick Mahomes is just different. He is. And people hate him because of how good he is. He truly is just that guy on a level of his own. And he showed it again in this game. Taking down the Bills for the 3rd time out of 3 times facing them. It's crazy to me how good Patrick Mahomes is. Isaiah Pacheco had an amazing game. He had 97 yards and a touchdown and that to me proved to be the difference in this game, as both QBs were pretty good this game, pretty solid, although Mahomes' stat line doesn't look, or not Mahomes, Allen's stat line doesn't look like it was great. I feel like Pacheco proved to be the difference maker. If James Cook had just played a little bit better, if the Bills' offensive line had played just a little bit better for James Cook, I feel like he got snuffed a few times when the line just didn't block for him. Yeah, I just feel like Pacheco proved to be that difference maker. He did have the game winning touchdown. Kelsey did come back to life in this game. I did talk about last podcast how it seems like he is declining, although there are rumors of him retiring after this season. I feel like if they win the Super Bowl, there is a very high chance him and Jason retire together. Crazy to say. But it's a real possibility. I know it's like a fairy tale ending, both of them retiring together, but he had 2 touchdowns this game. He had a he had the 75 yards. We saw his brother Jason in the suite hopping into the stands, taking his shirt off. He looked like Bert Kreischer out there. It was crazy. It was really funny. I love Jason Kelsey. He's a character. I'm a Giants fan, but I think he's the one Eagle I really like. He's just hysterical. And if this is how he's gonna act in retirement, some network needs to pick up New Heights or something. If both of them retire, put them and McAfee back to back. That would be hysterical. But yeah, the Chiefs were just different in that game. Um, I don't think there's really much more to say. Like Bills fans, I'm sorry. All right, moving on. Moving on. Why is my necklace not centering? I'm sorry. I guess I'm not moving on. Um. Anyway, screw it. We're gonna move on to the preview of the championship games. So I'm gonna talk about the Chiefs Ravens first. Um, the Ravens have a little bit of an advantage this game on the offensive side, and I feel like the Chiefs have a little bit of an advantage on the defensive side. So they pair up very nicely. This game is definitely gonna be close. I don't really know who's gonna win this game. I'm gonna try and tell you who I think is gonna win, but um, yeah, it's gonna be really crazy to see how the Chiefs can contain this rush because their rushing defense is middle of the road. They were able to do it against the Bills and James Cook, but you did see them allow 2 rushing touchdowns with Josh Allen, and we have a guy who's the best quarterback on his feet in this game in Lamar Jackson. It'd be crazy to see how they can contain him. I honestly do think the Chiefs are going to find a way because they're the Chiefs. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but they're gonna to contain the rush and hold Lamar to throwing. But to me, the Chiefs, like I said, like I'm talking about, the Chiefs need to contain Lamar to passing, and if they do that, I can see them winning this game realistically. But it's gonna be, um, I'm sorry, I just had a brain freeze. um, it's gonna be interesting to see if they contain Lamar. Do they start handing the ball off to Gus Edwards more? Obviously, whenever the Ravens have a running back, to me, it is kind of interesting to see because half the time Lamar is the running back. They designed so many plays around Lamar, but can they start using Gus Edwards a little more and bring him into this game if the Chiefs somehow find a way to contain Lamar and his rushing ability? But yeah, gonna be interesting to see about that. Uh, so next thing I'm gonna talk about is the Ravens secondary. The Ravens defense is obviously great. I do think the Chiefs defense is a tiny bit better. They are just kind of different defenses. Like to me, the Ravens secondary is incredible. Um, I think that Kelsey's gonna need to have the game like a game he had against the Bills because that secondary is just so good. I think they're gonna have to run a lot of um, mid-range passes because their secondary is so good. Like checkdowns and stuff. There's gonna need to be a lot of that. Pacheco's gonna need to have a huge game again. There's a lot of factors for the Chiefs that need to go right, and honestly, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. Most likely gonna go right. Don't know how it happens, but it does. Another thing to touch on is the Ravens have the home field advantage this game, and Mark Andrews is returning. It's going to be interesting to see how the Chiefs can contain him because they were really unable to contain Kincaid, who is a good tight end, but he's not in that top three level like Mark Andrews is. Like I was mentioning earlier, these teams are complete opposite. One is really rush heavy, one is really pass heavy. One has a better rush defense, the other has a better pass defense. It's really gonna be low scoring. Um, to me, I really just don't know how you predict this game. Um, like I said, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. They always find a way to make sure everything goes right. Mahomes has never not made an AFC championship in the 6 years he's been in the league. Um, Two people I could see scoring this game are going to be Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce because I feel like both secondaries are pretty good. Um, and the tight ends are going to be those mid level pass range targets. So I could see them scoring. I could also see a guy like Isaiah Pacheco scoring, but I'm gonna go with Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce as the scorers this game. I guess now I gotta predict the game. I have to. Um, I'm not gonna lie. I have written down I have the Chiefs winning 24-21, but I keep flip flopping on who I think is gonna win this game. I think so much needs to go right for the Chiefs to win this game. And if one of those things goes wrong, they will lose. So I'm actually going to go the Ravens winning this game 24-21. All right. So that's going to bring me to the NFC Championship game. Lions at 49ers. This is going to be the first game on the road for Detroit, as I mentioned. I think the key is going to be if the Lions defense is going to be able to pressure Purdy, because if they can, we saw that the Packers defense was lackluster and they were able to pressure Purdy and make him throw some irresponsible passes, not interceptions, because he's not that guy that's going to throw a lot of interceptions because he doesn't really go for it much unless it's a guarantee he's going to get it. A very big question to me is going to be if Deebo Samuel can play in this game. If he can't, I feel like the Lions defense has a freebie on who to cover. It's going to be split the coverage between Kittle and Ayuk. And yeah, obviously you have to worry about McCaffrey, but do they pass to McCaffrey sometimes? It's kind of, to me, it's really obvious when they do pass to McCaffrey. When they do, it's mostly in the end zone. They don't really do it outside of that. But to me, the offenses are pretty evenly matched in this game. They're both top five offenses, both have incredible rush defenses. So I really don't see many rushing opportunities for either team, but Christian McCaffrey is just different, so he'll find a way to just go for 150 yards now that I said that. Um, the Although both teams have a great rushing defense, I'm not gonna lie, the Niners just had the defensive advantage, and they're pretty evenly matched offensively. I can really see it going both ways. Again, both of these games are going to be so good. I'm telling you, both of these games are going to be incredible this weekend. But I'm going to try and predict this one like I did before. So to me, obviously, I said the key's gonna be, can they pressure Brock Purdy? Can they get him to throw irresponsible passes like the Packers did and make this game within reach for them? I can't rely on that though. I can't rely on that. I can't rely on Debo not playing. So I honestly see the Niners winning this game 34-27. Although I don't see many rushing yards this game, I'm going to try and pick my TD scorers. I'm going to go the safe route with both running backs, Jahmyr Gibbs and Christian McCaffrey. All right. So now that I'm done talking about the games, I'm going to talk about some news outside of that. Both NFC East coaches keep their jobs, which to me is just wild because both of these teams were Super Bowl contender teams and they didn't even win a playoff game. With the legendary coaches on the market, to me, it's a no-brainer to fire them. And I don't understand it, why they kept them. It's another instance of the Cowboys being this laughing stock team. And the fact that they change coaches so constantly. But when the whole fan base is calling for someone to get fired, and with all these legendary coaches on the market, they're not firing him. I don't get it. Although the Eagles didn't fire Sirianni, Sirianni did fire the defensive coordinator. So at least there's some coaching changes there for them. Unlike the Cowboys, who just seem to be rolling back the same thing like every year and say it's our year. Yeah. So I'm gonna talk about the Giants a little bit. The Giants, apparently their staff views the whole situation as toxic, and I think that's why Wink Martindale wanted out. To me, this just shows it's the same old Giants process. They're just rinsing and repeating over and over again, and it always lands up. It's like the Dallas Cowboys cycle almost, where they're just like, "This is our year. Oh my God, we made the playoffs as a top seed," and then crush, and then and then like circle, circle. But for the Giants, it's make the playoffs, have a shit season, fail in the draft, have a toxic environment, have another shit season, fail in the draft, and it's just over and over again. Um, Apparently it's nothing new. It wasn't just this year because they were bad. Apparently it was just enhanced because they were bad this year. Uh, like losing made it worse. And apparently Mike Kafka is like a guy that the staffers really don't like, and them together is like a duo of terror almost. If they can't figure this coaching situation out soon and get everyone on the same page, I think they should even look at the many legendary coaches they have on the market right now. Like take this opportunity to replace coaching staffs. If the situation really is that bad, get ahead of it this time. Although the Giants did just hire a new running back coach, it, in Joel Thomas, I'm pretty sure he was the Saints running back coach. He led the NFL in touchdown in from 2015 in rushing touchdowns from 2015 to 2022 with 148. In 2023, his production did fall off. But to me, it's a good move. Obviously, we need to see if Saquon Barkley is coming back this year. If not, we could look externally. I do think they should look externally, but that's just me. Apparently, Giants fans want to keep Saquon. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy for it. That's really it on the Giants. Their whole situation is just always crazy to me that somehow they always are just back in this dog shit pile. I hate being a Giants fan sometimes. Then I remember Cowboys fans exist, and they get hope and then get crushed. At least the Giants just give us hope. Well, I'm gonna talk about the Jets a little bit. There's not really much with them besides Sauce Gardner. He did get his second straight All Pro. He's going to be the first corner since 1970 to be named first team All Pro in his first 2 seasons, which is honestly really well deserved for him. Sauce is a beast. He's one of those guys that you build around. Um, I hope he's on this team for a long time. Quincy Williams also got first team All Pro. He's a guy that not a lot of people talk about, but he's really good. He had 15 tackles for a loss, 139 total tackles, and 2 sacks. It's really good for him to be recognized on a team where Sauce is really the guy that's talked about mostly on that defense. Really great for him. Great for the Jets to have 2 first team All Pros. Yeah, that's pretty much it for football. I'm gonna move on to the NBA news. There's quite a bit here. I'm gonna try and get through it pretty quickly because I do see we're already at almost 40 minutes. Alright, let's talk about the Utah Jazz for a second. Since December 13th, this team is 15-5. They're outscoring their opponents by an average of 7.2 a game. This team is just doing a crazy good job right now. I don't know what's really changing. Actually, I'll talk about something I do know that's changing. Lauri Markkanen is playing at another level. He's averaging 24.1 points. He's a guy who was having a good season before, but he's just reached that other level in this stretch, and he's really carrying this Utah Jazz team. Colin Sexton has also been playing at an otherworldly level, averaging 22.4 points and 5 assists compared to 12.7 and 3 before this stretch. Honestly, these two together just seem like, I don't know what happened that both of them are just doing insane at the same time. But good for the Utah Jazz, man. Good for the Utah Jazz. Another guy I'm going to talk about is Chris Dunn. This guy's been on the defensive side. He's averaged 19.6 points per game and 5.4 assists. I think that now that this team is completely healthy, they're going to be a legit threat in the West, and it's going to shake it up a little bit. Recently, Devin Booker scored 52 in 3 quarters. He's had 50 points 3 other times, so I guess it's like not really special for him. But it is noteworthy to me. I'm like 50 points, dang. Um, KD also scored, but even after that game, he was mad. He said, "We didn't do enough to win this game. We had off shooting, and they still won." I'm sorry. If I score 52 and my team wins, I'm just saying we're the best. We're the greatest. But I guess that's just me. In another game for the Suns this week, KD scored 40, and the Suns are another team that's getting really hot. They've won 5 straight games, and I feel like now KD is finally fitting into the scheme a little bit now. It's going to be a very interesting team to watch out for is the Suns. Nikola Jokic is doing Nikola Jokic things. I mean, honestly, um, I don't know how he's done this already. He's had 30 points and 10 rebounds 93 times. And in this game, he also scored a season high 42 for him. In this game, he passes Michael Jordan with the 93 times, with tallying 30 points and 10 rebounds. This guy is making waves, and it's crazy to me because he doesn't even care. He doesn't care. He could score 2 points, and if the team wins, he's happy. To me, he's a guy that should be looked at as an MVP candidate year after year. With him, this Denver Nuggets team is always going to be a championship contender. They could have no one else, and honestly, they're still championship contenders because Nikola Jokic is that good. Recently, Trae Young suffered a concussion. A concussion. I don't know what I said before that. This is gonna be a huge blow for the Hawks as they're only hanging on by one game to the 10th seed in the East. To me, the Hawks are at that same level as the Brooklyn Nets, where they're not really competing. And now without Trae Young, don't really see him holding on to a playoff spot. Obviously, he'll only be out a few games, but honestly, those few games could be enough to just knock them out of the playoffs altogether. The MVP from last season is also doing MVP things. Joel Embiid drops 70 points, 18 rebounds, and 5 assists. He passes Wilt Chamberlain for the most in one game in 76ers history. To me, Embiid is just another one of those guys like Jokic, where as long as he's on your team is always going to be a championship contender. You're always going to be that good. He even brushed it off after the game. Embiid is just one of those guys, man. How do you score 70 points in a game? I imagine how that feels. Sounds like that's crazy. Anyway, moving on. The trade deadline's approaching February 8th, as a lot of you know. I'm going to talk about a few things. The Hawks are seeking a 3-team trade for DeJounte Murray because they don't want D'Angelo Russell from the Lakers, and they would need a third team to take him on. Murray's been having a really good season this year, averaging 21 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds. He's one of those guys where he's not really at that 1A level, but he's at that kind of 1B level. You pair him with LeBron, with Anthony Davis, he's going to be lethal for a Lakers team. Really don't want to see the Lakers get him, but to me, it's just one of those teams too, where kind of like the Nets, you get all these people and they still find a way to lose. Sorry, you won in the bubble, 2 Mickey Mouse rings, 1 year. KJ Martin is available. They are seeking a second round pick for him. Yeah, he struggled for playing time on the 76ers team. He is a good player. He had his best season last year. He did average 12 points, 5 rebounds. I feel like the 76ers just use him to get another two-way player, as that's what they're seeking right now. They're probably not going to trade him for nothing. They'll probably end up trading him to a team that just has a two-way player they're looking for, is willing to give up a second rounder, and they'll probably give up him and a first rounder in return. Gonna be interesting to see though. A trade that happened, I think it was either last night or early this morning, was the Heat traded Lowry and a first rounder for Terry Rozier. To me, this is great for the Heat. They got rid of a guy that has an expiring $29 million contract. He's 37 years old. He was having a very down year. He was only averaging 8 points, 4 assists, 3.5 rebounds, while Rozier has been having his best scoring season, averaging 23.2 points and 6.5 assists. He's a guy where he can really boost this Heat team and bring them back to a championship. Really scary to see. Um, don't know how my Knicks are gonna compete now. Sad, but I think to note too is the Hornets want to flip Lowry. If they're able to do that, I think this is a great trade for the Hornets too. If they're not able to do that, I think it's still a good trade for them, as like they get a first round pick, but it's not gonna be as good because they're kind of stuck with a guy that's like on the decline, unless he's put in the right offensive scheme. I think there are a few teams out there that are gonna be interested in him. I think they do end up flipping him, but if they don't, I feel like it does bring the value of the trade down a little bit for them. All right, now I'm gonna just quickly talk about my New York Knicks. A game to note was the game against the Raptors, as obviously RJ quickly returned. The fans were so quick to cheer them and welcome them back. It was great to see. I love RJ. I love Quickly. Obviously, this was the trade they made for Anunoby was a trade they needed to make. He fits in so well with this team, and I love seeing him succeed. Just not against my team. Um, RJ did get 20 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. Good game. Quickly got 12 points, 11 assists. He's a guy that they're both guys that they're good, but they just didn't fit on this team, and it was sad to see them go. I'm happy to see them doing well, but the Knicks were able to bring this team down. Brunson scored 38. Randall had an 18-point triple double. Uh, Honestly, the Knicks are firing at all cylinders right now, and they've won 3 in a row. I'm going to talk about a few likely targets for them this deadline. I can see them going after Bruce Brown Jr. I think an Evan Fournier swap with a first rounder could do it. They have what it takes to get him. They're seeking a future first rounder and a quality player, and the Knicks have both. I feel like that's a very likely trade. I feel like it's the most likely out of any I have here. He's a guy that could really boost the squad a little bit. Jordan Clarkson's another guy, but I don't really see it happening. They have a very high price right now. They're seeking multiple high draft picks and quality players, so it's probably going to take like Evan Fournier, Quentin Grimes, and 2 first rounders to get him. And honestly, I don't see the Knicks surrendering that. Daniel Gafford's a guy. He's gonna take a first rounder, but he will fill a hole at center. I feel like the depth at center isn't that great. They obviously have Precious now, but I don't think he's a guy that I want to run out there as my number 2 center. If we are really seeking to win a championship right now, um, so he's a guy I would look out for. I don't think I I think they could trade a first rounder to get him, and they could trade a first rounder to get Bruce Brown. I feel like that would be a pretty successful deadline. But if any star becomes available, I think the Knicks are going to be on him 100%. Um, this is a team where they've been lacking a star for a while. I do think Jalen Brunson's a star, um, but a lot of people don't. So if any star becomes available, I think the Knicks are going to be on that. Now I'm just going to talk about the Brooklyn Nets. I feel like the Nets are making the right decisions right now, standing pat, you know, just looking at trades that can benefit them in the future for draft picks, for young players, for all of this stuff. Um, and they did make the decision to be out on DeJounte Murray, and I feel like that's great because they really shouldn't be going after a guy like that. They're not at the point where if they're at the same point as the Hawks. So what's the point on going out and getting DeJounte Murray from a team that you have the same skill level of? It's not gonna help you that much. I'm sorry to break it to you. Ben Simmons is a guy I think they're gonna look to offload, but to offload him, I feel like you're gonna have to give up either a young player or a draft pick, which could harm them in the rebuilding process. But he's obviously the guy that just does not fit into this rebuild scheme very well at all. Um, but I feel like if you trade him, it's gonna do more harm than good. I feel like you just eat it a little bit. You wait till next season where he's on the last year of his deal. He's gonna make 40 million. It's gonna hurt, I know, but just leave it be because it's gonna take too much to trade him away. All right, gonna talk about the NHL now. Vincent Trocheck and Kyle Connor are going to be the guys that replace Jack Eichel and Bedard. I feel like it's very deserving. Trocheck's a guy I feel like that doesn't get talked about enough. Kyle Connor is a really solid player. Both of them very deserving of an All-Star. I was shocked Trocheck didn't make it. I feel like to me, Trocheck's a guy that is really not talked about enough. I'm going to talk about him a little later when I talk about the Rangers exclusively. Um, he's a line one center. I'm just gonna say that now, and then I'll talk about the rest after. The Orioles, wrong sport. The Oilers signed Perry. Obviously, he's another great player on a team that is surging right now, and they were number one in the power rankings. I feel like if they can continue to get solid play out of Skinner, this is a team you really have to look out for. Um, he does say he's improved a lot in the past 2 months. Obviously, the situation that happened while he was with the Blackhawks was devastating for the Blackhawks because he was a fan favorite before that. Um, but the Oilers, yeah, like I said, they've won 10 in a row, and that's a Canadian team record, and they're only 7 off of a Pittsburgh all-time record of 17. The All-Star captains were revealed. It's going to be Austin Matthews with his assistant captain being Morgan Riley. Connor McDavid with his assistant captain being Leon Draisaitl. Obviously, two teammates there. Kind of cool to see. Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar. Jack and Quinn Hughes are going to be co-captains, not captain and assistant captain. They're Team Hughes. Cool to see. Kind of cool. You ask me. I don't. Is Jack Hughes even going to be back for the All-Star game? I might be stupid for asking that question, but I wonder how that would work if he's not. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much opinions on All-Star captains. It's cool. I feel like the NHL All-Star festivities are cool. You know, they're the only team to do a tournament for their All-Star game. I mean, that's kind of cool. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. The Avalanche, uh, to me, need a backup goalie. They're putting a lot of stress on Alexander Georgiev right now, and it's really made his play fall off. Obviously, last year he was playing at a Vezina level, and now he's one of the worst goalies in the league. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's played like over like almost 90% of this team's game. I think he's second behind Skinner on workload. And you see Skinner is hurt right now. Or no, he's not hurt. Sorry. Different Skinner is hurt. Um but yeah, you see Georgiev falling off because of how taxed he is. I think they really just need to look at the deadline of trading for a goalie. Talking about goalies, Marc-Andre Fleury got hit hard the other day. He got hit by William Lockwood, who's going to get a 3-game ban for that hit. This is a major hit behind the net, and it knocked him out of the game. And he's been day to day ever since. It's great for the NHL to make an example out of this because the goalie's a guy that I feel like just hasn't had enough protection. And I feel like we're constantly seeing goalies get hit and like no repercussions for it. So for them to make an example out of him is great. The 3 stars of this past week are going to be Kirill Kaprizov, David Pastrnak, and Logan Thomas. Obviously, all of them had great weeks this week. Good for them. When we're talking about injuries right now, Connor Bedard is going to be out at least 6 more weeks. Going to be interesting to see who can win that Rookie of the Year for the NHL. I can't remember. The Calder Trophy. Sorry. I feel like I've had a lot of brain farts this episode. I've also been pretty funny, so it evens out a little bit. It'll be interesting to see who wins that Calder Trophy without him. My friend Christian talks about it on the Beyond the Bench podcast. Go listen to that. Talks about that in his first episode. It's also, the clip is going to be available on his Instagram or TikTok. Alright, so I want to talk about my New York Rangers a little bit. Obviously, they've been struggling lately. That win against the Ducks was nice. You know, they scored 5. They scored, I think it was 3 or 4 in the third period to win that game. Sorry. To me, this team is just really lacking depth at defense and center. And they're depending too much on guys that you can't depend on, like Capo Caco. Alexi Lafreniere has shown up, but I mean, he's a guy that could easily play lackluster again, and to rely on these guys is just I don't think it's right to do, and they really have to go out and make some moves at the deadline. Right now, a move they can make internally is I think you have to move Trocheck up to line 1 and have him be that center, because right now Mika's just not that guy. I'm sorry, his shots have fallen off, his ability to create plays has fallen off, his face-offs have fallen off, everything has gotten worse, and Trocheck, everything to me has gotten better. I feel like he hasn't gotten nearly enough credit. He's the center 1 on this team. Now, Hedl is continuing to make progress out in the Czech Republic. His trainer keeps on posting updates. Obviously, he's not close to returning. But to me, if he can return, it's going to be a huge boost for this team as they can just focus on the defense at the deadline, as they will have more depth at center with Hedl most likely sliding into that third line center again. Honestly, this team to me is just going through this rough stretch. They do it every year. It was at the beginning of the year last year. Right now it's through the middle of it, where you just have to make changes. And to me, it's a big test for Peter Laviolette to see how he can make those changes internally. It's a huge test to Chris Drury to see how he responds at the deadline. It's a huge test for the Rangers franchise in general. Last thing we're going to talk about with the Rangers is Jonathan Quick returned for a game against the Kings. He had a little tribute video there. Very nice. He played pretty nice. He only gave up 2 goals, but the Rangers did lose that game because they're the New York Rangers, and they just find new ways to lose. Alright. I'm done talking about the Rangers before I get too mad. I'm going to talk about the Devils, a team I really don't like, to be completely honest with you. So seeing them struggle has been nice. But I like to talk about everything neutral, open-minded. I'm going to tell you what I legitimately think they should do. Um, a thing they haven't been able to do is win back-to-backs. The opposition has scored first 80% of the time in the second half of back-to-backs, which you just can't win like that. They have a 16.14 goals against above average, which is just terrible. And they have a minus 4.91 goals above expected on offense. Like, all that combined, you're just not going to win that second game. And to me, this team, if they can't win the second game of back-to-backs, you have a back-to-back at least once every 2 weeks, maybe even once every week down the stretch. It's just going to lead to the demise of this team, a team that was expected to be even a Stanley Cup contender. They have had a lot of injuries lately. Thomas, I'm gonna do some updates on them. Tomas Nosek has skated. He's not really close to returning yet, but good to see him skating. Hughes still hasn't skated, and he's been out since January 5th. That's very worrisome to me. That's why I said earlier, is he even going to be able to play in the All-Star game? Like, I honestly don't even think so at this point. So, something to look out for is he's a huge part on this Devils team, and if they don't have him, I really don't see how they could even make the playoffs with a team like this. Nolan Foote is the last guy. He's way further down the road, hasn't skated. He's even behind Jack Hughes, apparently. They did have a nice game Monday. They beat the Golden Knights. Toffoli had a hat trick, and they won 6-5. Good for them. I'm gonna talk about one move I think they should make. The Devils, to me, chose the wrong backup goalie this year. They were developing Dawes to be the guy last year. They focused on him last year in the AHL. And they went with a Karasmith for so long. Obviously, recently he has been sent back down to the AHL. But with this team as the backup quarterback, as the backup goalie, he's been the only goaltender to produce a positive goal saved above expected. He had a 920 save percentage last season in 6 playoff games and 1 shutout. And to me, there's no reason they should be putting out Vitek Vanecek, as he has been the worst goalie in the league. And they should be rolling out Dawes out there, because he can't do worse than Vanecek. So there is no reason to be rolling Vanecek out there. And to me, it's going to be too much on a team that has so many holes to go out there and trade for a goalie when you have one right there. Try him out, at least for a few weeks. See how he does as that starter. All right. Now I want to talk about the New York Islanders. They fired their head coach, Lambert. Obviously, they've struggled. They have not played nearly to their expectations. I feel like they jumped the gun a little bit on firing him, but they went ahead and they hired Patrick Roy. He had a pretty good first game to me. They trailed after 2 periods and they found a way to pull out the win. But Patrick Roy went out there and he criticized the team a little bit after that first game. He said they need to cut down the shots they're having against them. and he said they need to cut down on the turnovers because 17 of the shots that the opposition had came from turnovers. To me, it's really going to be interesting if the Islanders can turn it around, because if they don't, Patrick Roy's probably going to be gone in his second stint in the NHL after only a few months, which is sad for him. A guy I think that needs to pick up his production is Brock Nelson. He's had a -6 plus minus over his past 15 games, and the Islanders have had a losing winning percentage over the past 15 games. So it's going to be really interesting to see if Brock Nelson can turn it around to that all-star level we saw last year for this Islanders team. As I feel like their production relies a lot on him. All right. We're getting towards the end of the podcast. This episode has been longer. I don't know why. I'm gonna be honest here, but I just feel like I'm talking more, and more myself. You know, I don't know. All right. Yesterday, Dodgers and James Paxton got really close to making a deal. I looked down at my phone a few times, and that's because that deal just became official. 1 year, $11 million. That can go up to $13 million on incentives. Man, the Dodgers just keep spending money. I think they just passed the Mets on highest payrolls. Might even pass the Yankees there. Man, this team spent over $1 billion on free agents. This rotation's gonna be lethal, though. I'm telling you what. If Dustin May can come back this year and be that guy, I don't know how you're gonna hit against this team. To be honest, I don't know how you're gonna pitch to this team. This team's a super team, but obviously they're the Dodgers. They'll find a way to lose to the Mets in the first round of the playoffs. Not saying the Mets are gonna make the playoffs. I'm saying like any team, like the Phillies, who are gonna be like 88 and 80 with the power of friendship. 80 and 80. Why did I say 88 and 80? It would be 88 and 74. I guess I can't do math. Um, anyway, yet again, another good signing for the Dodgers. And the Pirates sign Aroldis Chapman to a 1 year, $10.5 million deal. Good to see for him that he realizes that the only way he's gonna get playing time is through shitty teams and getting traded at the deadline. That's really all I have to say about him, because as a Yankees fan, I hate him, and I think about that Altuve pitch every night before I go to bed, and I cry. A really big signing that happened this week for the Astros. They heard Kendall Graveman was going to be out all season, and they went out and signed the best closer in the league for 5 years, $95 million. In Josh Hader. He gets the free agent record with this deal, but he doesn't beat Edwin Diaz. Yeah, of course the Astros get better. Of course. Yeah, the Astros get a lot better with this team. Obviously, for me with the Yankees, I don't really like seeing my team go out and sign relievers, because it just seems like we shit out relievers, and that's the one thing they do well, is that they just find a way to make relievers good, like Wandy Peralta, Clay Holmes in recent years. I don't know, Ian Hamilton, like all these guys you'd never heard of before come to the Yankees, and they just become studs in the bullpen. So for me, it's fine. But they, nonetheless, them and the Mets are going to be looking at Hector Neris. He is seeking 11 million over 1 or 7 million over 2 years. Like I said, I don't really like seeing my team spend money on a reliever. I'd rather see them go out and sign Blake Snell, but that's just me. Let the Mets have him. Let them have him. Colin McHugh retires. He's pitched for the Braves. I'm pretty sure he was on that World Series team. I'm just gonna take a look and make sure. No, but he was on the Astros team in 2017. But yeah, he played really poorly last year in a negative WAR. He's had a nice career though. He's accumulated 12.3 WAR. He's a guy where I feel like he was always talked about as one of those solid, reliable relievers. Good for him to retire. I feel like this is the first thing I've heard about Anthony Rendon since he signed with the Angels. Besides him being injured and picking a fight with people, um, he says there should be less games, and to me, I think he just hates the game of baseball. I think he hates the game of baseball. I do. I'm gonna be completely honest. I think he hates the game. Um, Stay injured. Stop talking. Like, I love baseball being 162 games. To me, you're a casual if you say there should be less games. Rendon, you know what? Go sit on the couch. Go retire at this point. Like, that statement really irked me. Like him picking fights with fans. Like, it just seems like to me he's really gone down on players I like. And I don't know how he went from being like that guy, like in the world, leading the Nationals to a World Series, to now being a guy that I absolutely despise. Like I just don't understand that statement. Like, how can you say that as a guy that plays baseball? How can you say that? Moving on. Moving on before I blow a fuse in my head. The Robert Stevenson has signed with the Angels. Obviously, the Angels need a lot of help, not just in their bullpen. They need a whole new team. But they signed him to 3 years, 33 million. He's a good reliever. He's a guy that throws gas. He's been a guy on the. I think he was on the Reds the past few years. I don't think he's been on any other team. Oh shit! He got traded from the Reds in 2020. My fault. He was on the Rays, Pirates, and Colorado. He's always been a guy that's been up and down. I know, like the Angels. Probably have a really good first few months. Get traded. You know, because they're the Angels. Well, the Cubs are interested in Emmanuel Clase. Clase had a down year last year. Uh, to me, I feel like the Cubs have a lot of other places they can go. They can go out and sign Hector Neris. They could have went out and signed Josh Hader. For them to want to go out and get Clase for a price that's going to be really high, it's probably going to drain their farm system. I just don't see why they should do that. I think they should be more focused on going out and getting Cody Bellinger and one of those guys. The Cardinals signed Matt Carpenter back. Obviously, Matt Carpenter played for the Cardinals for many years until they released him, and he went to the Yankees and the Rangers and the Padres and all those teams. But it seems like he's ready to hang up the boots after the season, and he's back for one last year with the Cardinals. I think that's a great move for them. I don't know how much he's really going to play, but good to see. I guess I can talk about Cody Bellinger just for a little bit. I'm really shocked he's still a free agent. I mean, he's a guy where he's won an MVP. He had a really good year last year. To see him still out on the market, I feel like he would have gotten a deal by now. I just feel like all of Scott Boris's clients this off season just haven't been able to get the deals they've been looking for. And I think Boris really needs to lower the prices. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the Mets and Yankees. I'll talk about the Mets first. they are retiring Doc Gooden and Daryl Strawberry's numbers. Those are obviously two legendary players for the team. They've won a World Series with the team. Um, I think it's great to see their numbers get retired. As a Yankees fan, I see players' numbers get retired all the time. So it always shocks me when I go and see teams that like have like one or two numbers retired. Um, yeah, I think it's really good to honor them. Obviously, two players that they've had a little controversial past, but it's good to it's good to see their numbers get retired. Pete Alonso is a guy I want to talk about just for a little bit. A lot of Mets fans are really want him to get extended. I feel like I don't care what they do with him, but they need to decide now, before the season starts, before his value drops at the All Star break, to either trade him or extend him. Because if you roll him out there without an extension, you're proving to the fans he is not part of the future. And you're rolling him out with a lackluster roster. You are wasting his value for tools you can get to severely bolster this farm system. A team I think that if he is made available that would be able to give a lot is the Cubs. I just think the Mets need to make the decision now on if they're gonna trade him or offer him that extension he's looking for. They also are interested in Neris, as I said. They're interested in Ottavino too. I just feel like this team should honestly just not spend any money at all. I said it. They're kind of like the Brooklyn Nets for me. They're not even at that point of competing right now. I feel like that roster just is so incomplete. There's no point in going out there and spending a bunch of money on guys that aren't going to be helping this team for the future. So, all right. Now I'm going to talk about the Yankees. They are currently the only team to have offered Blake Snell a contract. I really do. As each day passes, the likelihood that Blake Snell is a Yankee just keeps going up and up. He's a guy I think that if they get him, this is truly an A+ all season. They go and get any other pitcher, I think it's an A+ all season. But yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see. I think the deal that gets it done for Blake Snell is gonna be around 165, 170. So yeah. All right. One thing I woke up to this morning is that the Yankees changed their away jersey. So the jersey I'm wearing right now is the one they wore at the Field of Dreams game. And apparently, that's what their away jersey is going to look like now. They're going back to that old style without the white around the lettering, without the white around the numbers, without the white trim. You look at the jerseys that Babe Ruth wore. You look at the jerseys that Lou Gehrig wore. It's going to be a lot like that, but with the modern fabric. To me, I like it. It's nice. It's simple. I obviously have one of the Field of Dreams jerseys. I'm wearing it right now. I think it's a good change. I saw Dan O'Rourke, say that the Yankees on Sundays should wear cream pinstripe jerseys. I think that'd be awesome. We see the Yankees roll out there in old style jerseys. Obviously, they're a team of tradition, so you know what? You go out there, and you're wearing these traditional jerseys. I feel like it's awesome. Good change. My opinions on that. Lastly, the Yankees are looking at bullpen help. I talked about Hector Neris earlier, but they're also looking at bringing back Wandy Peralta and Kenyon Middleton. I feel like I would much rather go that route than go and sign Hector Neris. Those are guys that have been in Matt Blake's system. Wandy's proven he can handle New York. Kenyon Middleton had a good second half with us. I feel like those are the guys that you should go out and get. I feel like you could sign both of them for less than the amount you'd have to sign Neris. But yeah. All right. That's really all I have for this podcast. It was longer than the first episode. I hope you liked the little change in attitude there. Leave your comments down below. As always, links to the socials are going to be down in the comments or down in the description below or in the bio of my Spotify. All right. Thanks for tuning in to Empire State Sports. Peace.